where it goes down, where you hear about the sports all around town. In the country, full of controversy to the highlights. You just not safe in the limelight.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Stoop, where you can walk up and sit down. We're gonna have a great conversation. The Stoop is hoops, hoops, and more hoops, presented to you and powered by Nuts and Bolts Sports. Shout out to my man Kev P. What's going on, Kev?
Everything is everything, man. How y'all doing out there?
All right. Listen, we got another knockout interview, a special guest, man. Listen, coming from the Philadelphia area, a Friend Central alumni, went on to some great things at the University of Penn Wharton School. He's been in the athletic family since day one. He got some specialty sports that we're going to talk about and get into. He's also a twin and right now a current manager at Roc Sports. He's a manager there. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mr. Rome Allen. Rome Allen, thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, Rome,
welcome aboard,
man. At what age did you specifically fall in love with sports, man?
Yeah. So I would say at one point in my life, I did a program with a bunch of people who like sports, and I was there, and everybody kind of had their specific reason, and I just I don't even know where to start, right? So I think first and foremost. So a lot of people know about my dad just because same name, he's a former player, coach right now. But the first basketball coach I ever admired in my life was my mom. So she was a teacher at Roberts Vaux Middle School, substitute teacher. She's now a superintendent. So she's climbed the ladder, the ranks from then till now. And she was the first person to really teach me, that moniker that, teachers say, kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. She showed me that every day. She'd be in her classroom braiding girls' hair. She'd be on the court coaching the boys' basketball team. In every way, she gave so much of herself to give back, starting there with that Roberts Vaux Middle School basketball team. I remember being in a gym in North Philly, kicking on the radiators, and watching those guys play. So it really starts there. My mom, like I said, basketball is big in her life. My stepdad, he played college basketball. My dad, basketball and sports have always been big. So I would say when I fell in love with sports, though, it's definitely when I started playing for the Northwest Raiders. That was my youth Pop Warner team. I played football, basketball, baseball, all up there on Shelton, Arley, and Uptown. So that was really kind of my first experience with a team and really real practicing. You play a little YMCA and you play little stuff here and there, but that was we trying to win, we trying to do something, we want to see y'all grow. And just the friends I made there and the memories I had from my time playing for the Raiders, that's when I really knew that sports as a whole is what I love to do.
Hey, Rome, this is a side note, bro. This is crazy. I know what Vaux is because it's right there on Temple's campus. I used to volunteer there my freshman year, so it's crazy, man, how everything is just at 6 degrees is wild. I was like, wow, he said Vaux. It's been a while. But, yeah, I know what Vaux is, definitely, right there on campus, man. Listen, you like you mentioned, you coming from a basketball family, but there's two loves that you have in terms of baseball and soccer. When did that really transpire for you, man?
Got you. So I guess I'll jump right back to that point about the Raiders. So for me, like I said, my dad was a basketball player, right? We got the same name. If I ain't had a beard, we looked just alike.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, basketball, anybody know me in basketball, it's never really been my forte, but mostly just because, I didn't have to play basketball. A lot of guys, as we all know, have to make a life out of the sport for themselves to make a better life for their family. When basketball was introduced to me by my father, it was, I played basketball so you didn't have to. Those are the words that I heard, right? So basketball was just a hobby. I was just kind of out there, right, at times. And it wasn't that I wasn't an athlete or didn't love sports. I was just like, you know what? I'm not going to find myself. I'm not going to be able to make – I'm not going to the league. I'm like, from a kid, I'm like, y'all think this is easy. But I spent those summers on the track at 5 a.m. I spent those long hours in the gym. I'm like, y'all got this is difficult. Y'all got that. It's not for me. So when I was playing with the Raiders and I found out that there was a baseball team, my dad also played football in high school too, and football was never for me. I mean, I was an offensive lineman. I liked playing football. The contact craziness, I was like, this is a little much for me. But when we had the baseball season started, 8 and under, and I got on the field, and long arms, I'm a big kid. I'm throwing the ball around. I'm crushing baseballs at the plate, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is mine. Nobody can take this from me. This is not. There's no other connotations. There's no expectations to live up to or live down to. And in a lot of ways, basketball, my dad, we didn't care. Like, he said, basketball, I'd rather you be a good person, right? My parents didn't. Sports wasn't always going to have to be my thing. So we would chuckle amongst ourselves about me and basketball because we knew it wasn't that deep. Other people would be like, oh, you got handles like your pop? I'm like, no, I play baseball. I play soccer. Like, that's my lane, right? And when I'm in that lane, I'm crushing that lane. So it wasn't just baseball and soccer, but I tried every sport that I could. I've never beat my dad in one-on-one, never have gotten to that point. But we go to the tennis courts, I was trying to kill that man. I mean, as a kid, like, I still can't serve to this day because neither one of us could serve. But I wanted to be incredible at tennis. I wanted to go play baseball, strike him out on the field. Like, everything else was mine. I let the basketball be kind of, like I said, my stepdad, he played college basketball. My mom, she loved basketball. You know, it was a big thing. But I was really about finding my own path, and that's what sports really pushed me to do.
Okay.
Okay, so you mentioned that your mom was big in basketball, and obviously we know your dad and everything, and you wanted to play baseball, soccer, tennis even, basically try to make a name for yourself. But I did a little bit of research here, and I uncovered the nickname Pooh.
Mm-hmm.
Was that sports related? How did that come about, and is that still something that's prevalent?
No, I mean, if you know me, like, from my family or even in the basketball world, you probably know me as Pooh. When I was a little kid, my dad's his nickname was Pooh, so mine was Pooh Pooh. Then I ran like 13. I was like, I kind of got to drop one of those at least. So my whole family, my sister, my mom, everybody calls me Pooh. Like I said, anybody used to play for my dad back around anybody who's seen me around in the gym just has kind of known me as Lil Pooh, right? Just, like I said, around, rebounding, just kind of observant. So that name is definitely stuck with me. Some of my friends still even call me to this day. I don't introduce myself as Pooh, but I'm like, if you know me, I'm Pooh, right? So, like I said, it's a little confusing when me and my dad both have the same nickname at times, but I'm used to that in general, right?
Got you.
So everybody knows that, you know, you came from Friends Central, talented programs that they have there, athletic-wise. People really know that you're coming from, you know, the Delaware Valley, the Philadelphia area, surrounding areas. Playing sports for you, more so about probably baseball would be better. When was that breakout moment that you had when you know that was going to be special? Breakout moment, breakout game. Talk about that for a second.
For sure. I will never forget this game. Hopefully to my last day. Freshman year, soccer team. So freshman year fall, first varsity team. And I was going off for the basketball team and baseball team after that, but freshman year soccer team. That year, in no exaggerated sense, I was the worst player in the league. We finished bottom of the table, and I was by far the worst player on the team. So I was playing center back, which is like middle defensive person for the junior varsity team, but I also played goalie. So the varsity goalie got hurt midway through, so I kept getting called up a little bit here and there. He wasn't that great, so they kind of figured, toss me in. My first varsity start ever was against Harrison High School. So mind you, I started playing soccer in 6th grade because they was, all right, everybody else do the mile test, the goalies do goalie tryouts. And I'm like, cool, you got me. So I, didn't have to run. So that was a really the first big push. But by the time I got to high school, at that point, I'm gonna send you a picture. I'm just trying to find it. Send you a picture of my middle school soccer team, and you just kind of see how looming I am over everybody else. So it was easy to be a big, scary black kid out there, right? But high school, like it's a little different. Like they play, these guys train. You got some seniors about to go off to college. Like it got real. So I was nowhere near where I needed to be in terms of skill set. Didn't know anything about the game. Barely know the rules. I was just kind of had been out there. So I get my first start against Harrison High School, a really historically good soccer program, public school right up the street, and I'm ready to shit myself. Like I'm scared beyond belief. I got subbed into a couple games from before, but never my first start. So I lived down the street from Friends Central. We moved from North Philly when I was in 8th grade. So I used to live at 32nd Allegheny. Then we live right at like City Line, Haverford. So 2 hours before the game, I'm there. I'm the only one on the field. Like I said, no clue what I'm doing, but I'm just making up solo drills to do on my own, right? Just diving after the ball here and there, thinking about my steps, my cadence, and And like I said, that game changed everything. Like I said, my first varsity start, we playing against a really great team. I'm a freshman. I'm out there. I don't know what's going on, but lo and behold, we won the game 2-0. Right? Huge upset on our part. That was our at the end of the season. Everybody, what was the highlight of the season? It was beating Harriet, and that game has stuck with me throughout not just my sporting career, but just my life. As you know, if you want to excel at something, if you want to be great at something, you got to prepare, and not just prepare. Sometimes you got to be the only person out there. You got to show up 2 hours before to get it right. That game, I think more so than anything, less physically of what I was capable of, or I didn't really have the skills or wasn't really training, but I got locked in 2 hours before the game started. I was the first person out there, just me. And so that taught, and I've used that game as evidence to, you got to show up early, you got to put the work in early, you got to be prepared. And my whole soccer career is emblematic of mentally kind of the approach I tell people I bring to life. It's a goal-keeping mindset. My freshman year, I'm scared. I'm hoping the ball stay as far away from me as possible. You can't play goalie like that, right? Like,
Yeah.
you gotta want the ball.
Go after it.
Yeah, if you thinking they're gonna come, they're gonna score on you, or like I said, everything. Visualizing that success, you visualizing failure, you're gonna get failure. If I'm scared, I'm gonna be scared. So that year, like I said, was real rough. We ended bottom of the table. Sophomore year, I come back, wasn't really playing. I was trying to get more serious about baseball because that's right when everybody just started specializing. Like everybody had just went their separate ways. I'm like, maybe should I cut it down a little bit? I don't know. Ended up quitting the soccer team that way through the season. I was failing a French class. I'm like, let me just go focus on basketball, get in the gym. Mind you, like our French basketball team, that was the year we won our 4th straight state championship. So I'm like, I'm trying to be a part of that team maybe a little bit, try to get on the court. So I lead a team. Basically, my best friend is one of my best friends to this day, co-captains of the soccer team. He convinced me to come back my junior year. Him and the coach was like, we need a goalie, need you back, whatever. And the biggest change was not even my skill set or what I learned how to play. It was about my mentality, right? I couldn't be scared no more. You can't wish adversity away. Adversity doesn't tell you when it's coming. It doesn't wait for you to be ready. As a goalie, you might get 2 shots a game. You might get 20. You might get 1 shot every 20 minutes. You might get 1 shot every 2 minutes. But you got to be prepared for that adversity. You got to be ready for it to come, and you got to walk into it, like I said, mind ready.
Now I want to ask you this because you talked about the mental preparation for it and being prepared for the moment and doing everything you needed to do just to be there and be ready. That's one aspect of it. And I also know that coming into your family and everything with basketball, we know that it's a game of footwork and eye coordination where they're both equally important. Soccer, more so the footwork, and baseball, obviously, hand-eye coordination is really an element of it that's important. But would you say that your early exposure to basketball helped you to develop some of the skills to excel at both baseball and soccer?
Yeah, for sure. I think basketball is a fair amount of hand-eye coordination, a lot of really core and body control, right? Stopping, starting, cutting, crossing over, and those type of elements, those type of actions persist in all sports, right? The way I play defense, I'm breaking down at the top of the key, right? That's almost the same way I play goalie. I'm shielding the basket. I'm shielding the goal. I'm turning on that angle. I'm quick, choppy steps. I got to move and get set, have my feet up under me. Same kind of cadence as you want to move around the soccer field. I mean, even as field players too, right? You want to, that act of shielding. So some of those things are translatable. Definitely even soccer and baseball, right? Hand-eye coordination. I didn't realize how good I was at goalie until I went to South Africa and played a long time. But I'm looking at guys kick the ball, and I'm reading it off of his foot, just like I read a curveball out of a pitcher's hand. I'm like, slow the ball down to your game. Baseball, they teach you, throw your hands at the ball. What I'm doing in goalie, throw my hands at the ball to keep it out, right? So I've definitely seen synergies across really all sports. I think we live in this era of specialization. I think a lot of people should really just look at science and what it says, especially about youth sports. I think all youth athletes should be playing as many sports as possible. Like I said, I played we had 1 season of lacrosse in middle school. I'm like, you know what? Let me try that just to get that experience. I played Imagine a kid, I'm getting off the school bus with a 6-foot-long lacrosse stick in the middle of North Philly in 7th grade every day, right? Like looking crazy, throwing the ball, like with this deep ball, throwing the ball against the wall. But I just wanted to get that experience, and that absolutely, not just with basketball, not just with soccer or baseball, but everything you kind of touch and try, you can kind of apply that coordination, apply that skill set, apply that muscle memory in other places.
Cool. Now, we know obviously about the athletics in your home, as we just spoke about at length. But there was also an emphasis on education, as both you and your twin sister Taylor attended the prestigious UPenn. Tell us about that upbringing and its culmination as you and Taylor shared a graduation, as well as, do you think being exposed to basketball and the business of basketball is what influenced you to go there?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, definitely, I had my hard mindset on Penn for a while, just growing up around there, growing up around campus. Me and my sister, we're both very, very close, twins. Definitely a connection that's hard to describe in a lot of ways. We weren't set on going to school together. We both were like, if we go to school together, it's going to be at Penn together. So luckily that worked out. And like I said, education come first. Like I said, first thing my dad told me, I played basketball, so you didn't have to. My mom, she was an educator. She was a teacher. She was raising twins while working on her master's, while raising other people's children. As a kid, I didn't even realize what was going on. She like, oh, y'all got a new babysitter, and this girl's living with us for months at a time, right? And it's not just the value of education or the value of sports. It's about what those things can do for you, right? How that can push your life forward. That's what we really saw. Not just, like I said, it was always written in the cards for us that we was going to college. I think I had this conversation with my mom yesterday or 2 days ago, and she was like, me as a first-generation low-income student, I didn't know a lot about, college or applying or what you could and couldn't do. But I made sure that was the norm for you and your sister, that you guys saw achievement, went to graduations, went to all that. And I was like, all that even aside, right? Like seeing how much she put into her middle school graduations to really show them how big it was. My grandmother, I'm not going to tell you how old she is to date her, but basically, she raised my mom by herself for the most part, put her through school. Once my mom got out of college, she was just like, oh, this is something that I should do. So me and my little sister were growing up. My grandmama actually went back to school, went to Temple. So as a little kid, me, my twin sister, we'd be in the Temple library till 2 a.m. helping her do homeworks and projects and stuff like that. And she would be like, listen, like, I'm getting my degree before y'all get y'all. Once we got into school and I saw the value of education through my mom, she didn't want the world to think she was no dummy or wasn't capable, wasn't nothing. It took her a while, like almost a decade. She was like, but I'm going to finish. So I think, like I said, not just the things that we saw, but the people in our lives, those family members. It was just, like I said, education written in the cards for us. She telling us at 7, 8, I'm finishing my degree before y'all get y'all's. She like, I know I got about 15 years or so I'm going to get mine before y'all get y'all. So those lessons were always in us.
Nice. Well, while at Penn, you were active with McCool. And for those who don't know, that's a Black cultural center that provides academic, cultural, and social support to students. Explain to us the significance of having a program like that, as well as the resources that it provides.
Yeah, for sure. First and foremost, I need to say, like, I think in a lot of ways, all universities offer services and have spaces and for students to use, and oftentimes they don't. And I was one of those students as well, right? It took me a while to find my way back into that space and to use it effectively. So Brian Peterson, who is, shout out to him, the greatest, he's kind of supports, he runs my crew at Black Culture Center, but just in general supports the Black community at Penn. So he's been a great help to me and countless others. So I just want to give him his props. But then two, just, like I said, providing that space for us to be together. I was very involved in Black Men United, which is the kind of Black male undergraduate group. We did monthly meetings and dinners, et cetera. So just having that space together, just knowing it's there, whether, like I said, whether you are using it or not, being knowledgeable about it enough to know when you need to come home and be a part of that. So can't really speak enough about how important Brian and everyone who works in the center has been to the entire Penn community.
Great. That's dope. That's dope.
Well, Wharton's prominent alumni can be found in the medical field, business, athletics, to name a few. But there's apparently a gap that needed to be bridged between business and the sports field. And you are the co-founder of the Wharton Sports Business Summit, what can you tell about its development and your current involvement?
Yes. So I am, I guess we call it like an alumni advisory board now, just for the current Students Planning Summit. But so, I mean, the summit planning, I want to say it started second semester of junior year of college, and then we put it on my senior fall. But in reality, the planning started years ago. So when we talk about, success, and we talk about, sorry, I'm adjusting my computer real quick. But when we talk about success, we talk about access to resources and things that people can use. People usually kind of get up and say, "Oh, I did it all by myself," or it was just me and nobody else. Like, one, I don't even know what loneliness feels like because I got a twin. Like, it's a privilege and a blessing to experience that, but I would never get up here and say like, we just put it together from the muscle. So me and my roommate at the time, his name is Jared. He currently works in baseball operations for the New York Mets. But we met at a summer program in high school called the Wharton Sports Business Academy. So that was 2013, and that was right before the cell phone boom per se. So the knowledge and expertise and stuff that we brought to putting together that summit started. The seed was planted back then. We just didn't put it into fruition until 2017. We were kind of just like, you know what? Too many people here whether it be Wharton or just Penn in general, think that they have to go into financial consulting or have to go into these rigid structures. And first and foremost, my goal was just to prove to people that, you can do something you love. You can work in a field that you love doing, that you will wake up every day and appreciate. And it's not just about what people think you should do. So put together the summit, had a career fair aspect to it, had a bunch of different diverse kind of speakers and topics, and was really, really proud of the fruits of it, especially in its first iteration. So this year, it's not going to happen just, with coronavirus, everything going on. So we're working on a few online programs, but this time has also helped me kind of get back reinvested in the summit, which has been nice. We've been putting on a couple of different speaker series. I spoke with Renee Montgomery a few weeks ago about, not just opting out of her WNBA, return, but just what her plan was and what she was trying to work on moving forward. So a lot of good stuff is going with that. I'm looking forward to seeing the growth. And just as a leader, it was really important to put the right people in place, and they're going to make that successful in the future.
Got it. Listen, man, I'm gonna add a quick two-part question for you, if you don't mind. So you already spoke about Africa, and we know that your father played internationally as well as in domestically in the league. When you had the opportunity, and this is another side note, Kev, Rome has always has been in the know about everything because he spoke about knowing Ty Grant. His Ty Grant story from way back in the day as well. And
Okay.
I don't know if people want to share that, but that's up to him. But anyway, let me get back. Traveling international, Rome, like what was, in terms of sports and what you saw, what were some of the culture shocks that you witnessed? And the second part is also, because your father played internationally, what sticks out to you in terms of a player that you watch playing and saying, he's super nice, but didn't probably get an NBA look, but it was overseas and he was doing his thing. So that's my two-part question.
Yeah, for sure. I'll say one, just sports aside. So, like I said, we lived, me, my mom, my sister, my stepdad lived in 32nd Allegheny, right there, middle of North Philly. Loved it. It was, a place that's very special to us. I got the address of that house tattooed on my left arm, right? My twin sister has one on her as well. So that time was so important to us, and it wasn't just because of that place, but the fact that I could go from that reality, North Philly, and I wake up 12 hours later and I'm walking through the ruins of Pompeii. The contrast, the exposure to be in a poppy store, buying sunflower seeds, to eating like authentic thin crust Italian pizza on the Mediterranean coast, like that shaped my worldview in a way that I really am just starting to understand, right? Like I said, we went to Italy like 11 times between the time I was like 6 and like 14 or something like that crazy. We would go every winter break and every summer. But the first culture shock I remember, so my favorite, out of all the places and cities my dad lived in, my favorite place is Naples. He used to live in what's called Lago d'Averno. In Roman and Greek mythology, Lago d'Averno was considered the entrance to Hades because it used to have like these steam bubbles coming up that would kill birds around it. So it's real kind of old, deactivated volcano on the coast of the Tyrrhenian Sea overlooking Capri from the inside of the volcano. Lived on a villa with a lake and orchard. And so, like I said, we on the block playing tag, me and my sister, and then we running through the villa picking grapes and lemons and watching the sunset over the sea. And like I said, so that contrast really pushed me off. But in regards to the sports in Naples, like I said, I didn't really get educated about their fans until now. But I remember we land, the next day you got a game. We walking in the stadium. I was always the ball boy. When me and my sister were just there, the two of us, she was sent behind the bench and I was sit behind the basket to sweep up before games. So I remember and me and my sister just talked about this. Like, we walk into the stadium and we look up and I'm like, why they got plexiglass sections in the stands to keep the fans separated, right? So I'm like, walk in perplexed. Yeah. Game time start. Next thing you know, they got flares. It's like a 10,000 seater. Flares, signs, going crazy. Like, I at this point, I've been a fair amount of games before. I'm like, this passion is different.
It's next
and
level.
it is. It's very different. And you could, like I said, I'm like, I got plexiglass. Then the game time start, and I'm like, oh, they getting it in. So like I said, that has really pushed me to, up until this point, investigate why are they so passionate about it? Why do they care so much? When we pull up to the stadium, we look at the basketball gym, it's a little 10,000, 20,000 seater. I'm like, the soccer stadium make this look like a shoebox. And it's in the same parking lot. So like I said, those type of things set me on the course then to figure all that out. Is what it really exposed me to.
Okay. And somebody who was nice playing over there that didn't get an NBA look, but
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I got a lot of perspectives on that just from like my stance in the business now. I think it's interesting. Too oftentimes, the media or the public will look at athletes and be like, that guy didn't get it done. That guy got in a bad situation and couldn't do whatever. Opportunity, it just showed me the importance of opportunity, right? Some guys that's really, really talented, just a scout never probably came across them, right? I mean, I don't really remember like, oh, that person stuck out as somebody who could have played over here or whatever, or like an Italian 7-footer kind of hiding away. But not that I saw that person, but that I know that they're there, right? So really just the importance of the opportunity. You don't know who's going to come across you when. That's why you always just kind of got to be ready. And for athletes, just always prepared. I always say, you never know who's watching, because I've been around in a lot of places watching a lot of people, and now I'm here in a stance where I can make an impact, and I'm like, I know who not to mess with, who to mess with. So what stuck to me about guys, that's more of a more like when I was on the road out watching guys play, talking through different guys' skill sets, and really, to me, what I'm always watching for, what I was watching for as a kid, what I was watching for high school, and now is just really just the guy's attitude, his body language, his approach to the game. That to me more paramount than everything, because everything else you can learn, regardless of who you are and where your skill set is. So what type of teammate are you going to be is the investigation I was coming with.
Okay. Now, it's coming up on about a month and a half since the untimely demise and death of Mr. George Floyd. Knowing that you're advising and supporting many different athletes all across so many different sports and spectrums, what advice have you given them to utilize the potential platform and given the potential climate that exists right now? And how has that, kind of shaped some of your guys and ladies that you work with, and also your perspective as well, if you don't mind?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I'll take a deep breath first, because this is a stressful conversation for all of us, right? Like, this kind of make your blood boil a little bit. So I want to acknowledge that. To acknowledge that I'm a person, I always try to find the right words, but in reality, I'm trying to process something that none of us should be processing. So the fact that, we all still thinking about it, still trying to figure out what's going on, that's going to happen. In terms of advising athletes and those with the platform, and I spoke at length with this about this with Renee Montgomery, is just, we all have a role to play. I think a lot of people, whether it be white, black, whoever, country or just in the world conversation now, is realizing that I can't do nothing. So I've been encouraging guys to figure out which way you can make that impact. Not every guy wants to be vocal, right, or use their platform, just in general, not necessarily on social causes. So if your lane is getting on the court and doing as best as possible as you can in the court while wearing a Black Lives Matter armband, let that be your lane, right? Some people's lane are protesting. Some people's lane is protest music. And we need protesters. We need protest music. We need people handing out, water and milk when people getting tear gas. We need, people at home amplifying messages, hitting the retweet button, people signing petitions, right? So same thing I've been telling just normal people and as well as them, what is your lane? What are you trying to do? Is it just donating? Is it writing that check? It might be that, right? If that's how you can feel you can make an impact, but just don't be on the sidelines. That's really what I kind of leave it at. To figure out where you might want to be. I'm still trying to figure out what type of role I want to play in all this, but you got to come up off the bench and do something. And it can be passive, it can be active, but something can be done.
Go ahead, Kev.
Well, tell us about your current role at Roc Sports. What does any given day look like for you? And in addition to that, we also know that Roc Nation is known for its sports and business endeavors, but also for its cultural impact. Your sports and business focus at Wharton, coupled with McCool's cultural and nurturing, making that the ideal situation. How would you describe this seemingly perfect fit?
Yeah, I mean, and that's exactly what it is. I think it was a perfect fit from the beginning. It kind of took a long-winded way to kind of have this be the opportunity that I'm gonna get. This is really technically my first job.
All right, so tell us about your current situation at Roc Sports and what an average day looks like for you, because we know Roc Nation is known not only for its sports and business endeavors, but also for its cultural impact. Your sports and business focus at Wharton, coupled with McCool's cultural nurturing, makes this the ideal situation. How would you describe what seems to be the perfect fit?
Yeah, no, it's definitely been a great fit. Been loving it so far. I joined in October. I would say first, just on kind of like the mutual interest for me, the fact that this company is global, international. We have a London office. We have athletes from the African continent, trying to grow our international just space in general. So the fact that it's beyond football and basketball and baseball is what really is enticing to me. On an average day, I think the one thing I love about my industry and just kind of my position and managing my players and just kind of everything going on in the office is that no one day is the same. It all is kind of different. What I've been telling people and some of my advice is to just try to diversify your skill set, because one day I could be helping with, planning a community event. One day I could be, watching film and kind of, evaluating what somebody might need to be working on or if they had a bad game or not. One day I'm, just a kind of a counselor, a friend, just like, somebody with, got to have some emotional intelligence to kind of support people as they, go through some of these things. So the fact that, I can do so many different things, it really is very customer centric, right? Built around the individual client, the individual athlete, what they want out of the experience, what they're looking for. And those things just, really, really range, a lot of time spent, on my phone, on Twitter and on Instagram, because that's where a lot of the business is done. I usually come in, I make sure we're in the office, but just kind of scour through Sports Business Journal, ESPN, Bleacher Report to make sure I'm up to date with just where the industry is. And then, like I said, the day might take a turn for whatever direction, but mostly right now I'm studying. So I'm planning on being an NBA agent. So I want to take the exam in January 21. So just been doing a lot of studying for that and just general prep and planning around, what playing that role might look like. So a lot of what I'm doing right now is either future planning or just kind of day to day. This is what needs to get done. And then can you give me the second part to that question again? I just
wanted to know
the cultural fit. Yeah. Yeah, can't appreciate that enough, honestly. So, I mean, this is my first full-time job. I did a fellowship in South Africa. I've had a couple of internships before. I worked for various different companies throughout, a couple of months while at Penn. But it's just, the space to feel free, the space to feel like you can, just be yourself, regardless of who you are. We have a very diverse company. So you're bringing in whatever cultural competency you have, because, we service athletes from different countries, different backgrounds. So just to kind of get this mix, and it's in an open environment, and an environment where like I said, I feel comfortable, speaking about some of these things, speaking about these difficult topics, because these are some of the things that, we work on at times. So yeah, I've been enjoying myself for sure.
If I can, Kev, real quick, I want to interject. Rome, I have a quick question in terms of, we're talking about culture. So when you pull up to the stoop, it's about culture, it's about what's going on in the streets. What does the thing about the word rock and Rockefeller and Roc Nation, has that stuck out to you? Do you ever step back and say, yo, I'm a part of a iconic thing, an iconic label that started back in, 96 when, we talking about rap and hip hop. And then you bridge that with the athletes, and we know how much athletes, sports, hip hop, and rap all immersed in the culture. Talk about that. And I got a real hood street question, because my man Adam when he asked this. When y'all sign on, y'all get a Rockefeller chain, man. I'm just curious. Bro.
I'm working on it. Studying on it. But yeah, I mean, except my parents, they grew up in the _90s and through that whole music era, and what my mom put on when she cleaning and on the weekends to when she just kind of jamming out, hip hop music, and they're both of them, my stepdads and my mom to my dad, like just their love of just that whole era that Jay was emblematic of, right? That era from R&B to rap and everything in between. So I grew up going to a lot of concerts, fortunately, because I have a twin, always had somebody to go with, right? So my mom, she loved concerts, loved music. First concert I ever went to was like an Eve concert at the Dell when I was like 6 or 7 or something like that. But after that, never missed a Powerhouse, never missed a Meat concert, never missed a J. Cole concert in Philly. Every Made in America, we was there deep, right, every day. So that's, going back to sophomore year of high school, and lo and behold, fast forward now, being in a building where, I can make an impact on some of those things, if that were the case in the future, that, we work on some of those things, and just to kind of hear about what's going on as I'm working in the sports side, and to think about, the artists that we have in the building, people who, the music I'm listening to before my soccer games, before baseball games, just that I've been in those concert halls, throwing up the rock, right? Like bopping up and down, the lights go on at the end of the concert, and Jay pointing out people in the crowd. And so I've been in those spaces before. So I feel like it's not just a blessing and a privilege to be here and to work here, but I feel responsible for what this will represent in the future, what it represents now, and what it will represent past my own time. So that's why I think, not just to be here and be connected to the culture and a Black company, et cetera, but just I feel ownership in it. I feel a vested interest in it, because I know how some of these voices in this building impacted me on a daily basis.
That's right. Yeah.
What advantages does having a father that played professional basketball in your business background give you dealing with clients?
Yeah, I would like to think I have a fairly good basketball IQ. And it really just from daily conversation. I've always loved the game. Like I said, I never really wanted to play it seriously, but loved the game of basketball since I was a little kid. So I've always just kind of been around those conversations, been around those practices, those film sessions. Where I've been recruiting. I've helped break down film. I'm in the gym doing workouts, watching what to teach, what not to teach. I also had a lot of great coaches myself growing up. My middle school basketball coach, Coach Falwell, he was phenomenal. My high school basketball coaches Jason Polikoff and Brian Tozer. Like I said, we won 4 state championships, and I was on 2 of those teams. I didn't play that much, but like I said, I was there, and what I got to learn from, like I said, in the classroom, I would say the classroom as like my court at school at Friend Central, versus some of my outside teams, to kind of rounding off my experience with all my parents and their knowledge and love of basketball. It really all helped put me in this position to really feel capable in terms of, like I say, just applying that knowledge, but also just, the networking. Like I said, you talk about Ty Grant. I was like, oh, I'm at one of those trips to Italy, one of those winters, maybe I was like 10 or 11. We had just gotten into Milan really late. And my dad was like, I want y'all to be my friend. Like, I stop and meet Ty before we go drive a couple hours to the next city where he was staying at. So me and my sister, we pull up in like this kind of like nightclub lounges thing, like these little kids kind of walking around. Like, and my dad's like, no, I really just want y'all to meet Ty. And I'll never forget, we sitting there eating chicken salad sandwiches in some back room, and all I hear is this guy, yo, what's up, son? What's up, son? So like going back and forth. Lo and behold, I'm on this podcast, and I called you. I'm like, I know Ty Grant, like that's my old head. So we go way back, and it's stories like that. And I think I would like to believe it helps with some of my credibility. I just tell people, like, I'm just Lil Poop. Like, I'm just been a kid in the gym rebounding. Like, I'm not, because again, this business is hard to find who to trust or why they into it or what they doing it for. So most people, like, who can refer me, like the Ty Grants of the world, I'm like, you know me from 10-year-old in Milan. Like, it go way deeper than this.
Got it. So
He know you from when you was poo-poo.
yeah,
Exactly.
Rome, gotta say thank you. It's been a great pleasure to sit down with you. I have one more question I want to close out with. So think about it from this perspective. 10 years from now, you sitting back in the chair and you exhale. What would you tell, the next Rome Allen coming along, man, who want to aspire to be in the shoes that you've been in? And, you say you got aspirations to become an agent, but, not only that, but, work in these big companies led by a major mogul and sets of moguls and people. Man, a cat that was at 32nd or a cat that went to Volks, what do you say to them, man? What do you do to motivate them and help them get to the ranks of what you've seen, what you've done and inspired to? And then also, man, what do you see next for yourself as well?
Yeah. So I would say my advice to people and just people trying to, quote unquote, make it, right? So it's just one, like I said, I don't ever want to for a second pretend like I said, be one of the rugged individualists who like, oh, it just kind of happened like that, right? So I know what's helping me where I am right now is my early exposure to basketball. I wanted to go to South Africa so bad because I knew what traveling the world and sports could do for you, even as a kid. So I was like, I know that's what I want to do next. So those type of influences, the type of agency, the fact that I've had my mom, she was up in my school every day. Anything happened, she was out there to investigate, to empower and make sure stuff was straight. So I don't want to discredit some of those advantages that I've certainly had. And like I said, always had companionship, a twin, help with group projects, whatever it is. But like I said, for everybody trying to make it, because like I said, it's only a limited amount of opportunities, limited amount of spots. I just want you as a person to just put good energy out into the world. So I know we talk about kind of karma and what that means, and that might mean something to different people, but just with anything in life, right? You put hard work in, you're going to get what you deserve out of it. You're going to get a championship. You're going to get whatever. You got to put good energy out into the world. You got to put positivity out into the world. That's the only way you're going to get it in return, right? If I call you, I'm like, no, we cool, we good. Like, you won't get that reciprocated. So that's kind of what everything you do. If you let positivity guide you, if you let, self-sacrifice guide you in your actions, that's going to come back to you. And that's kind of what I'm realizing this phase of my life now. It's not just those ways in which I was blessed. It was the person that I've always tried to be. I really strive to, like, I don't talk down on people. I'm not cussing nobody out or calling nobody out. I'm a really, really genuinely try my hardest to treat others the way I want to be treated. And I think that's going to come back to you. So again, just, be prepared. Like I said, that goalkeeping mindset. You can't wish adversity away. You can't sit back and just be like, oh, it's not going to come, or hope. Like, you just got to be ready. And sometimes you might want to, I'm like, yeah, come on, I want some shots. I want some adversity. So being prepared, being just a good citizen to those around you and the world around you, right? Give me the second part of the question again. I'm just, for me, where I see myself for 10 years.
Yourself,
Yeah.
and, looking back from where you've come from and where you want to go and aspire to be still yourself.
Yeah. I'm a little crazy sometimes too. I definitely like to plan things out years and years in advance. Like when I was in 8th grade, and this guy came back to our high school to present about the CTC 10 fellowship, right? Go to South Africa and play soccer with kids for a year. I went home that day. I was like, all right, Mom, I'm going to go to Penn and then I'm going to go to South Africa. And this was when I was 14. She was just like, all right, okay, we'll see. Like 24, I'm like, damn, like that was crazy. I'm like, I was really, I was, and in that moment, I was as determined as I was the day before I left. Like when he said you could do this, I was like, I'm doing it. Like it's no question. So that kind of burn the ships mentality, that kind of no turnaround mentality.
Right.
I would encourage people to have that. But you talk about, say, diversifying your skill set. Have that about a couple of different things.
Okay.
Have that, like, have that. I want to chase. I'm gonna focus on this, but I also gotta love elsewhere, right? Don't put all your eggs in kind of one basket. And when you diversify your skill set, you might get to put all that to use, right? Like, just like we talked about on the court and on the field. Oh, my soccer footwork is similar to my defensive footwork in basketball, and my baseball, my hand-eye coordination. Just like I'm, in my crew, and we, kind of talking about, Black male mental health. I'm working for a lot of stressed out Black men, and learn, I need to not only apply that to what I'm doing, but I need to apply to the knowledge I got from, the FIBA courts in Italy, right? That all those things are now coming back into play. So you can be relentless in your pursuit of kind of, the things that you love. And I say things, like I said, it's too much, so much out here to appreciate and to love and to take in the world. I just even got back into art, right? Like I used to do these things called continuous line drawing. I stopped doing them for years, and now I'm doing them again, right? I just keep trying to add to my bag, add to my arsenal of things I can really pour my heart into and feel invested into. And that's really what I've been focused on, is just continuing to be a lifelong learner. 10 years from now, I know I'll be somewhere incredibly successful, because at the end of the day, I feel as if this has always been in the cards for me. Because it didn't just, and it's not just starting now, it started years ago. This process, this build up to, whoever I will be in the future. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of people, like I said, always had always had an underdog mentality. I've never been complacent. I had a lot of friends, oh, you was at the brunch, you made it. Like, I'm like, I ain't done nothing yet. Right. And that's kind of how I always feel, is that, that next hill, that next mountain, I'm bulldozing through it and just to find the next one. Right. So I'm gonna keep climbing this ladder. Just keep learning about these experiences and everything happened to me, and hopefully put them to good work.
Solid. Well, listen, Mr. Rome Allen, we want to thank you for all the jewels you dropped, because you dropped a lot, bro. And we know you on some great things. You're destined for greatness, man. And just thank you for sharing all the things that's impacted you along your journey, man, and where you at with Roc Sports and all the things that you go through, and just being real supportive there, man. And we wish you all the continued success, man. And most importantly, we want to thank you for just coming by and sitting on the stoop for us for a little while, man. And we greatly appreciate your time today.
Yeah, for sure. Thank y'all. Look forward to staying in contact. And remember, you my old head, all right? Please don't call me sir or mister or none of that.
I got you.
Listen. You could call me Pooh.
Some say that it gets no real on the field or the court. We capture the thrillers, some opinions and all of the truth. Real people talking real sports on the stoop.